Welcome to TT-Buddhism, where ancient wisdom meets modern clarity. Have you ever wondered why your mind feels like it's constantly talking, spinning stories, replaying old regrets, or imagining futures that may never happen? Have you ever tried to silence your thoughts only to find them growing louder? If so, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're just caught in a storm that most people never learn how to step out of. My journey began like many others, not in a temple, but in a restless heart. I searched for answers in psychology books, spiritual texts, even the latest self-help trends. I thought if I could just find the right thought, the right idea, I could fix everything. But the more I chased clarity through thinking, the more confused I became. And then one night I came across a teaching from the Buddha. Do not believe everything you think. Observe your thoughts. Do not become them. That one line cracked open a new way of seeing life. In today's video, we'll explore this radical idea that you are not your thoughts. Instead of being swept away by mental noise, you'll learn to watch it with clarity and calm. This simple shift can transform anxiety into awareness and stress into serenity. So stay with us. What you're about to discover may not just change your mind, it may free it. We often think of our thoughts as facts. If the mind says, "You're not good enough," we believe it. If it whispers, "They don't like you," we feel rejected. And if it replays an old mistake from years ago, we relive the shame as if it's happening all over again. But here's the truth that Buddhism gently reveals. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's true. This may sound simple, but it's revolutionary. The Buddha taught that our suffering doesn't come from life itself. It comes from the stories we tell ourselves about life. The pain of being criticized is real, yes, but the endless replaying of that moment in your mind, that's the second arrow, the suffering we inflict on ourselves. And most of us are unknowingly carrying thousands of second arrows every day. Modern neuroscience supports what the Buddha realized over 2,500 years ago. The mind is not a fixed thing, but a continuous stream, like a river, always flowing. There's no single self inside, just ever-changing thoughts, emotions, and memories. The problem begins when we start clinging to these passing moments as me or mine. Imagine watching a storm through a window. You see the lightning, you hear the thunder, but you're not in danger. You're simply witnessing it. That's what mindfulness does. It teaches you to observe the storm of thoughts without getting swept away. This shift from identification to observation is the first step toward real freedom. Instead of reacting automatically to every thought, you begin to pause. You start to notice, there's a thought about fear, a story about failure, a worry about tomorrow. And with each act of noticing, the spell of those thoughts weakens. You no longer become the thought. You become the one who sees the thought. And that, dear friend, changes everything. Stay with us. In the next part of this journey, we'll explore how the mind builds habits, how suffering is created through repetition, and how you can begin to walk a new path, one of awareness, peace, and gentle transformation. How the mind works. The mind is a brilliant storyteller. It weaves narratives about who we are, what others think of us, and what the future might hold. But unlike a book that we can set down, the mind keeps spinning stories whether we want it to or not. And the more we believe them, the more they shape our lives. Some of these stories uplift us. Many, however, are born from fear, insecurity, or past wounds. A comment from someone might trigger a story. They must be mad at me. A moment of silence in a conversation might spark, I'm so awkward. Without realizing it, we live inside these thought-constructed worlds, never questioning their truth. But the Buddha taught us something vital. Suffering doesn't arise from the world itself. It comes from how our minds interpret the world. In other words, it's not the event that hurts us most. It's the meaning we give to it. Take this simple example. You text a friend and they don't reply. One person might think they must be busy. Another might spiral into, they're ignoring me. Maybe they don't like me anymore. Same event, two completely different experiences. Why? Because it's not reality that causes pain. It's the mind's interpretation of reality. This is how habits of thought are formed. Like a trail in a forest, the more we walk a certain path, the clearer it becomes. The same happens with thoughts. If we keep telling ourselves, I'm not good enough, it becomes the mind's default setting. But here's the good news. You can choose a new path. When we become aware of the stories our minds are telling, we can gently begin to rewrite them. It doesn't happen overnight. The mind has been operating in the same patterns for years. But with mindful attention, those patterns can soften. And this awareness isn't about controlling or suppressing thoughts. It's about understanding their nature, where they come from, why they appear, and how they pass. Next, we'll explore how these mental patterns keep us trapped in suffering and how to break free. How thoughts trap you in suffering. Imagine this. You make a small mistake at work. Maybe you forgot to reply to an email or stumbled over your words in a meeting. That's the moment of discomfort, the first arrow as the Buddha described it. It stings, yes. But what happens next? Your mind kicks in. I'm so careless. Everyone must think I'm incompetent. Why can't I get things right? That's the second arrow, the one we fire at ourselves again and again. This is how most suffering operates, not from the actual event, but from our mental reaction to it. The Buddha used the analogy of two arrows to explain this clearly. The first arrow is life. Pain, loss, mistakes, these are inevitable. But the second arrow is optional. It's the thought loop, the self-blame, the judgment that we add on top of pain. And that's what truly wounds us. Modern psychology calls this rumination, and it's one of the biggest drivers of anxiety and depression today. We don't just experience life, we replay it, overanalyze it, and get stuck in it. Like a scratched record, the mind loops the same story until it becomes our identity. We begin to think, this is who I am. I'm always anxious. I always fail. But these are not truths. They are just well-practiced thoughts. And the more we resist them, the more power we give them. The Buddha illustrated this with a simple yet powerful example. A monk once told his student, for the next 5 minutes, don't think of a monkey. The student tried. He failed. The monkey popped into his mind. Even more. Why? Because resistance fuels obsession. The harder you try not to think something, the more it sticks. The way out is not to fight your thoughts, but to allow them to pass, just like watching clouds float across the sky or a river flowing downstream. When you stop clinging, the thought loses its grip. You begin to see it as just a thought, not a command, not the truth, not who you are. In the next part, we'll explore how to live with this understanding and how to gently step into a life of awareness, not entanglement. When thoughts no longer define you, living beyond thoughts. What happens when you stop believing every thought that crosses your mind? You begin to experience something rare and powerful: stillness. Not the silence of a quiet room, but the deep, inner calm that comes when you are no longer a prisoner of mental noise. Most people live their entire lives inside their heads, waking up and instantly getting swept into the stream of plans, worries, judgments, and self-criticism. By night, their bodies are tired, but their minds never really rested. Life becomes a blur. Moments slip by without presence. But Buddhism offers another way. The Buddha didn't tell us to stop thinking. It's impossible. Instead, he showed us how to see thoughts clearly, to recognize them as fleeting events, not who we are. A thought arises, it stays for a moment, then it fades. That's all it is. Suffering comes not from the thought, but from clinging to it, reacting to it, identifying with it. Learning to observe your thoughts without getting pulled into them takes practice. At first, it feels hard, like trying to calm a wild horse. The mind resists. But if you stay gentle and consistent, it begins to settle. Vipassana meditation is one of the most powerful tools for this. By focusing on the breath, you train your awareness to stay rooted in the present, and as thoughts come and go, you simply watch, without judgment, without attachment. This awareness doesn't stop when you leave the meditation cushion. Imagine someone insults you. Before, you might instantly react with anger or hurt, but now you pause. You notice the rising emotion. You see the mind starting to build a story, and instead of jumping into it, you just watch. The insult loses its power. You are no longer its prisoner. As the Buddha said, let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of what is in between. With a free heart, simply be. Letting go is not about forcing silence. It's about seeing the truth, that thoughts are impermanent and they do not define you. And in that space of clarity, you begin to find something far more beautiful than any story the mind could ever tell. Peace. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. So what happens when you stop identifying with every thought, every fear, every story the mind tells? You begin to wake up, not in a spiritual fantasy, but in the simplest and most profound way possible, by living this moment, just as it is. You discover that you are not the storm, you are the sky. The thoughts may come and go, but your awareness remains calm, vast, and unshaken. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. The Buddha never asked us to escape life. He asked us to see it clearly. He invited us to walk the path of mindfulness, where each breath becomes a doorway to presence, each moment an invitation to freedom. And you don't have to be a monk or live in a monastery to begin. You just have to pause, notice, breathe. The next time your mind starts spinning, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it true? Or is it just a habit I've mistaken for reality? Keep practicing. Some days will be easier than others, but every time you return to the present, every time you observe instead of react, you are planting seeds of peace. We created this video to share a truth that has changed our lives, and we hope it lights a path for you as well. If this message resonates with you, we'd love to hear your reflections in the comments. How has your relationship with your thoughts shaped your life? What helps you return to presence? Your voice matters. Your insights may inspire someone else on their path. If you found value here, please consider liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and sharing it with someone who needs a little more peace in their day. Thank you for spending this time with us. May you walk forward with clarity, compassion, and the deep knowing that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches them. Until next time, stay awake, stay kind, and stay free.